YouTube, it's Mike from Kane Autograph. If you're into card collecting, TTMs, or blind trades, you're in the right place. Today we got a really fun batch of through the mail autograph returns. We got a mix of baseball, got a little football, a World Series hero, some quick returns, and one that took over 900 days to come back. That's the fun of TTM collecting. Sometimes they come back in a couple weeks, sometimes it takes a few years, but it's always exciting to see what shows up in the mailbox. So let's jump in today's returns and see who came back. First up, Ricky Reynolds, 2 of 2 in 8 quick days. Reynolds played 10 seasons in the NFL from 1987 to 1996, mainly with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he finished his career with the New England Patriots. What's interesting about Reynolds is that he was actually a second round draft pick in the NFL out of Washington State, but he turned into a really reliable defensive back during that era. Over his career, he recorded 23 interceptions and took 2 of those back for touchdowns, so he had a knack for making big plays. Cool stat, though, I didn't realize until I started looking him up. He scored 5 defensive touchdowns in his career, the 2 pick sixes, 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown, and he even returned a blocked field goal for a touchdown. All right, this next return is a long-awaited success. This one came back from Nate Snell, former pitcher for the Orioles and the Tigers. And get this one took 922 days to come back. That's why we never give up on TTM request. Snell made it to the big leagues with the Orioles in 1984 after grinding through the minor leagues for about 7 seasons. A good reminder of how tough it is to reach the majors. He came up late in the 1984 season. His first appearance, he sat through 7 and 2/3 innings with 7 strikeouts, allowing just 2 earned runs. Over his 4-year career, he finished with a 7-6 record, a 3.29 ERA, 5 saves, and 96 strikeouts. All right, this next return I was super excited to see in the mailbox. Andy Messersmith, and this one came back in 40 days. Now, if you collect autographs through the mail, you know this is a pretty low success rate signer. So honestly, I feel like I just got lucky on this one. Messersmith had a really interesting career. He pitched in the majors from 1968 to 1979. He played for the Angels, the Dodgers, the Braves, and the New York Yankees. He was an all-time 4-time All-Star. Best season came with the Dodgers in the early 70s. One of his biggest years was 1974 when he went 20-6 with a 2.59 ERA. He finished second in Cy Young that year. What really makes him interesting and important in baseball history is something that happened off the field. In 1975, he and pitcher Dave McNally challenged baseball's reserve clause, which basically tied players to one team forever. Their case led to the decision that helped create modern day free agency in Major League Baseball. This next one came back from Brian Harvey, and it only took 12 days. Harvey pitched in the majors from 1987 to 1995, probably best known for his time with the California Angels. He was actually one of the top closers in the early 90s. In 1991, he had a huge season with 46 saves, which at the time was one of the highest single season totals in baseball. That season earned him an All Star selection, and he finished 8th in the Cy Young voting, which was pretty impressive for a relief pitcher. All right, the next one is a football return. This one came back from Jerry Shirk, and it took 61 days. Jerry played defensive tackle in NFL from 1970 to 1981, spending most of his career with the Cleveland Browns and then finishing up with the Oakland Raiders. He was one of the top defensive tackles in the league during the 70s and was selected to the Pro Bowl 4 times. He was known as being a really disruptive player in the middle of your defensive line, and that's what you want in that line. Finished his career with over 50 unofficial sacks, which is pretty impressive considering it wasn't an official stat for most of his career. This one came back quick from Gene Larkin, and it took only 16 days. Larkin played with Minnesota Twins, and Twins fans remember him for one of the biggest moments in team history. Game 7 of the 1991 World Series, Larkin hit the walk-off single in the bottom of the 10th inning that stored Dan Gladden and gave the Twins the championship. Here's a cool Twins trivia fact. Larkin was one of only 7 players who were part of both the 1987 and the 1991 Twins World Series teams. The others were Randy Bush, Greg Gagne, Kirby Puckett, Al Newman, Kent Herbeck, and Dan Gladden. Pretty cool group of players to be a part of. And anytime you can add a guy who delivered Game 7 of the World Series walk-off hit for your team, it's a great addition to the collection. A 3 of 3 return from Rich McKenney in 39 days. I sent Rich 3 cards and I asked him to sign one and keep the other 2. He was kind enough to return all 3. He played for the White Sox, Yankees, and Oakland A's. In my last return of the week, a 3 of 3 return from Cecil Cooper, 5-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger, Roberto Clemente Award winner, and Brewers Wall of Honor. The Rookie Stars card will go to Carlton Fisk. Hopefully he will sign. That's going to wrap it up for today's TTM's returns. Had some really cool ones in the dispatch. Andy Messersmith has to be my favorite just because it was such a long shot. It's one of the things I love about this hobby. You never know what's going to show up in the mailbox. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really helps my channel grow, and I appreciate all the support I get from the hobby community. Thanks for watching.